Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Blue Thunder Pod AEW Edition. I'm your host, Billy Sullivan. With me this week, my dad's favorite podcast host, and she doesn't have to murder herself for your affection, Aaron Winkler.
Hey, glad to be back. For those of you who don't like listening to me, I apologize.
Those people don't exist, and if they do, we don't fucking want them anyway. So what did you think of Dynamite this week?
I mean, if I could just get every single episode of Dynamite to have a Bryan Danielson match that starts like that, I mean, I would be happy. I'd watch forever and ever and ever.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that start.
I was like, another week where he's leading it off.
I thought of something you're going to get to see. They're definitely going to do this at All In. That you're probably not aware of. You know that Bryan Danielson has a special entrance?
I do not.
Entrance and
is it my new favorite entrance music?
It is, as he called it the last pay-per-view, the greatest fucking entrance music of all time. So it is a callback to when he started in the Independents, but Ring of Honor, really, primarily Ring of Honor. The indies, like, they don't worry about paying royalties for anything because nobody notices because it's little independent shows. So they just use real music.
Yeah.
His song for his whole independent run, and then for big matches in AEW, because Tony Khan does have to worry about that, but he's a billionaire, so he just pays his $20,000 or whatever he has to pay for big moments, is the Final Countdown. Final count. And then when they get to the Final Countdown part, the entire audience goes, the Final Countdown.
Oh my God. I was already drinking the Kool-Aid on him, and it's just going to be even better.
So the way that, at the last pay-per-view, it was the Anarchy in the Arena match, and one of the hallmarks of the Anarchy in the Arena match, something they did with, it started with Jon Moxley because he comes out to the Wild Thing, but the version of Wild Thing from Major League, the good one.
Yes.
The match started, and because it's Anarchy, and it's like a multi-man hardcore goes throughout the whole arena match. It's crazy. It's always super fun. There was the one I was talking about. Darby Allin lit Luke Perry's son on fire.
Yes.
It was that match. The way it started was like the first one, they did Wild Thing and they just let the music play.
Okay.
And it was like, people were like, oh, they're just letting, and it was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. This is like extra awesome because there's these people doing all these crazy things and they're playing Wild Thing like the whole time. It's like a whole different vibe and it's super cool. So they've continued to do some kind of a bit with the music keeps playing at the start of every Anarchy in the Arena match for the first 10 minutes or whatever. This year, it was like a battle between the heels and the baby faces. So like they started, Darby Allin Orange Cassidy comes out to the Pixies. Where's My Mind?
Oh, okay.
And they were doing that. And then... Or no, it was Darby. It was Darby Allin. He has another, I forget the name of the band, but it's cool. It's a real song. Okay. It's like a song. Because he's like friends with everybody. But they were doing his song. And then Matthew Jackson got on the mic and was like, turn this off. We got to play our new incredible music, which is like the ripoff of Succession song. That's great. It's like, it's a mix of like Roman Reigns theme and the Succession theme. So that was playing. And then Danielson gets on the mic. He's like, turn this shit off. We're going to play the greatest fucking entrance music of all time. And they did the Final Countdown.
Great.
And then Darby Allin timed up the first, it's the final count to him. He had found his way up onto like the rafters.
Oh.
And as that hit, and everybody did the final, he did the, at the perfect time, because Darby Allin is maybe the greatest wrestler on earth. He's up there. Like, I'm always like, Will Ospreay is the best wrestler on earth. And then every time I watch Darby Allin wrestle, I'm like, he might be the best wrestler in the world. Like, he's incredible.
Yeah.
But he timed it perfectly. You got about 2 seconds of him on this show. And my only thing I didn't really like about this Dynamite was he's returning from like a long absence. He's a huge star. Do a big thing with him. Like, I was happy to see him, and I liked the result of what we're going to get from it. But I wish they would have done a bigger thing with Darby there.
Yeah. Oh, but I jumped ahead anyway.
I was going way ahead because I'm telling you all about the Final Countdown.
Yeah, no, it was really, really good. Where with Raw, I was kind of bored with the first half of Raw, and then it picked up, and then I really liked it. This kicked off great. I mean, like I got to see MJF with like his like really leaning into the heel stuff, which I didn't get to see yet that much. I mean, I got to see a little bit in the ring, but like not on the mic so much. So it was cool to see that. It was it was a great start to Dynamite for sure.
I dig that they had MJF. They actually had him open Collision, which he's been on Collision once maybe. And I liked why, because I shouldn't say nobody, like half the audience that watches Dynamite watches Collision.
Yeah.
Dynamite gets like about 700,000, I think they got this week. And Collision consistently gets like 300,000 viewers or whatever. So usually they don't have MJF is like, no, I'm not going to be doing that. But the reason they had him open the show so he could do his like, here's the reason why I'm going back to being a heel, basically. And it's cool because his character, I hate when heels or baby faces are like, okay, we're going to turn you heel, and then you're just, okay, I'm just going to be evil now. Now I'm evil, and I'm going to do evil shit that you never saw me do ever. Or if you're a heel forever, and then you're like, I just realized I am courageous now. So now I'm going to be courageous. Like, I like it much better when, like, the whole time he was a face, he was still cheating. And he was like, I'm trying this. I'm trying a friendship out. I've never trusted anybody, but I'm going to give it a shot because, like, I'm the champ now, and you guys have gotten behind me so much. I'm going to believe this. Like, I still think you're kind of in trailer park trash, but, like, I'm going to try it. And, like, that's the tone that he had the entire time he was a babyface. And now he was able to do his transition back seamlessly because he was like, I tried trusting somebody and fucking one person, they stabbed me in the back. So fuck you. I hate you people. You're all scumbags. You're the reason that I trusted somebody. And so it's your fault. So like, I'm a heel again. Yeah. But I like that they did their transition back to the heel promo that you have to do to some degree on Collision. So then they could on Dynamite open the show with, you're fucking supervillain. And we don't have to do any explanation. You're just back to being supervillain MJF. They had actually opened with, and I don't think you've seen Will Bloody Ospreay talk. I know I've seen him wrestle.
A little bit.
But like a full promo like this?
Very minimal, I believe.
Because he did a big-ass whole promo. Yeah. Like he came down, sat on the turnbuckle.
It was like a fireside chat.
Talks, yeah. And like that's real hard to do.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like not a scripted thing. You're just talking kind of. I mean, you go out there knowing what you're going to talk about, but like you're talking off the cuff kind of.
Yeah.
He doesn't stumble on anything.
No, he did good.
It's really tough. I love him as a promo. He's like just a believable babyface promo. He sounds like a person talking. I mean, obviously, I love him. I do the impersonation of him every chance I get. But well, he talks about MJF and how, like, Max, you think that what represents AEW because you were here from the beginning, but what I am is what AEW strived to be since the beginning. So it's like essentially what the heart of AEW is what I am, is kind of the truth too. I mean, it's the international guy who's incredible in the ring, and that's what they were, always going for. But he's essentially calling out MJF. MJF's music hits. Obviously, he's not coming down, though. Because that's not the part of the program yet. Like, we're not there yet. It's the start of the feud. Music plays, but then stops. Everyone's disappointed.
But it was perfect.
It was exactly what you should do. And then the Tron Max is up there on the Tron, and back to like smarmy rich guy attire. I'm glad he stuck with the black and white Burberry scarf because I liked that little change.
The only thing missing was like a fluffy, mean-looking cat. He was petting.
That would have fit this. Yeah, but he's back to like the suit, the Burberry scarf, and he was actually holding a glass of red wine and like swirling. It was just wonderful. It was Dr. Evilish. And although he did something that I don't know if I've ever seen Max do other than one time. And then he went and apologized for that. Like on Twitter, he said a wrong word. He meant to say cymbals and he said thimbles because he was talking about Will Ospreay being a dancing monkey. And once you're not able to clang your thimbles, he said. And I was like, Max, Although he has been out for 6 months or something, so I'll give him a break.
You know what? He was so good though that like in my brain, I'm just going to retcon that they've always been thimbles.
They're
that the
thimbles.
monkeys
Yeah,
play,
they're thimbles
so
now.
that's what it is.
But yeah, he was. I mean, it's MJF. It's MJF doing a promo. It wasn't like as brutal as some heel promos that he cuts, but usually, most of the time, what you know, and this could be cool too, because the gripe that the one legitimate gripe that I think some people have about MJF programs are that they play out similarly, like his heel programs.
Yeah.
Generally, they start kind of comedic, where he's doing goofy, like chicken shit heel kind of stuff, or he'll start with the thing like this where he's like teasing that, but I'm not in the arena though. It's
like you don't deserve me to be there.
Then he'll do a thing where like usually he has underlings. He doesn't at this point yet because he just turned heel, but like he has some underlings. You have to get through them.
Yeah.
And then he will eventually get to, like, after you do that, then he'll cut his real promo with you, usually face to face in the ring, but sometimes it'll just be him where he does the shit that he's like famous for, where it's like real biting, like, oh Jesus, don't say that. On Swerve Strickland, he was like, apparently when you to be a business mogul, I thought you had to go to business school. I guess you must have skipped out on your public speaking class because Swerve's not awesome on the mic.
Right.
So I was like, oh man, that's fucking mean, Max. Don't do that shit. But he'll get to that then, and then he'll do something horrible. Like he'll bloody you, do something to your family, something like that.
Yeah.
And then we get the match. And that was kind of it would happen with most of his programs. It would kind of follow that pattern. I didn't have a problem with it. Most people didn't, because it ruled every time. Yeah. And it was always different. It was always different promos, different like sets of circumstances. But it was like a template that the different things fell into. So like this would have fit that template, because he's doing his like, I'm not going to engage with you physically yet part at the beginning. But then we found out that we're getting a match next week on Dynamite, which I think he's going to do something awful because it doesn't fit. That doesn't, and it's cool because he's a heel, but now he's a new heel. He's a different heel. He's a changed heel. So like maybe they're going to depart from that, and because that is going to be the Wembley match. I'm certain of it.
Maybe he'll just come out and lose, and that'll be the end of the story.
yeah. Just straight up, like, whatever. Just your two biggest stars, your biggest heel, your biggest babyface, one of them you're just going to beat. Yeah. Just
on a regular old Dynamite.
That's a really solid match. It was like a 4.5. That's a good match. No, I think he's going to do, like, kill Will Ospreay's pets or something, because something horrible is happening, because it's going to be the Wembley match.
Yeah,
it's too hot a feud already.
Too close.
Yeah.
To it. So
we're like, and Wembley's not happening till the end of August. Yeah. So like we get some time, and this is an incredible feud to have. Like they're going to let it simmer. So whatever the match that we get, there will be a match. There'll be like a real match that'll happen. I can almost do the $5 million guarantee, because AEW, one of their mission statements, one of the few where they made from the beginning that they haven't like backed off of at all. They made a bunch of mission statements. Some stuff they've like whatever. I mean, you kind of still stuck to it, but the one thing that they've stuck to ardently for 5 years is, if we announce a match, you will see that match.
Yeah.
What we advertise happens. So we're going to get a match between these guys, but like, and that'll rule. And they're not afraid to do a match and then just like run it back at the pay-per-view, because they'll just do a better one at the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Like it'll be great. And then it'll be, holy shit, that's what they can do, really? Like at the pay-per-view. And they've done it a bunch of times. I mean, his last big feud was the Adam Cole, and they had a Dynamite match. It was like a 5-star match. And then they had their other match was at Wembley later, and that was like the best match at Wembley.
Yeah.
So like we'll get a match, which I'm very excited about, because I know that we're going to get a real match between these two, and they're like incredible. And you haven't seen Max do his thing in the ring really yet. Although I am going to, now that you're super fan number one for Bryan Danielson, I'm today I'll give you the maybe my favorite MJF match was their Danielson and MJF had a 60-minute,
naturally,
actually 65-minute Iron Man match. That's one of those crazy things. It's like both Danielson and MJF are guys that it has been said everybody has their best match against one of those two guys. And the other guy that people say that about is Darby Allin. And then Chris Statlander is the woman that usually is in that position. But like it's Darby, Max, and Danielson.
Yeah.
Like is the guys that they don't have bad matches with anyone. And everybody has their best match. So when those two like hooked up for over an hour, it was like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. It's generally considered the best. And I say generally, like really universally considered the best Iron Man match that's ever happened. Because usually Iron Man matches, because it's going to be an hour, because most Iron Man matches an hour. Sometimes they'll do a 30-minute Iron Man, but a real Iron Man's an hour. You got to start out like real slow plotting, doing a lot of rest holds and stuff for like 20 minutes.
I have to take breaks if I watch TV for an hour.
These two fuckers like went 1,000 miles an hour. Like Max in character was trying to take breaks, but in the story, but like in reality was not.
Right.
They were just going 1,000 miles an hour for over an hour. It was incredible. I've never seen anything like it. But I'll give you that after the show. I'm excited for you to be able to watch that for the first time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna get an MJF Will Ospreay match on Dynamite next week.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. It did stick in my craw though, the Thimbles thing. I gotta say, when somebody is that precise at everything that they do, whenever there is anything like I said to you before we started recording, I'm like, I bet he was like flogging himself like an old religious punishment because he hates making any kind of mistakes
because he's so good at speaking. It was I noticed it immediately. I was like, oh, he said the wrong thing there.
Plus, Will Ospreay, the guy that's got that openly talks about being autistic, and in this promo talks about ADHD, and he did. I think it was kind of funny. He was like, because Max has talked about having ADD in the past in like one of his famous promos, and Ospreay was like, I have ADHD. Like. He could have said also, and I'm autistic, motherfucker.
I think the part that makes it like interesting that he screwed up a word is because like the type of person he is as a heel that I'm gathering is like the kind of person who would totally rip someone else apart for
making a one flub.
Yes,
he just cut a promo on Swerve for like occasionally flubbing a word or two. But like the Cockney, uneducated guy with multiple like health problems comes out and cuts like a 15-minute promo without flubbing a single word, and then you're Dr. Evil, and like it's the first time that he makes I guarantee you in his head he was like, fuck me, I hate Max, you suck, you're worthless. Like I could see it in his brain, like, which means that we're gonna get a 10-star match next week.
Probably. Maybe that was done on purpose. Like he didn't realize he was doing it on purpose,
like
but
Tony
it motivated
Khan did a post in like the 7-second delay. Oh, I'm make it sound like he flubbed the word, so he puts on the greatest performance of his whole life next week. It was a big Dynamite though, like just generally as far as happenings go. They're on a run, man. Like this is just great.
It's because I'm watching now.
It is an incredible time for wrestling. Like you said, Raw started a little slow, but it was a really good Raw for me.
It was.
I mean,
I always enjoy Raw. Yeah. I really do.
Again, and they like a bunch of interesting story stuff happening. And this is like I don't know, this is like the third or fourth Dynamite in a row that are like almost flawless.
Yeah.
They're as good as Dynamite gets, and there's
this week and last week were fantastic.
Yeah, I would say this week and last week were like as good as any Dynamite that they've done, and that's saying a lot. Just 2021 was a goddamn incredible year, and it's on that level. And for the last 2 weeks, and for the last like 3 or 4, it's like at the 2021, not best of 2021, but like at the 2021 level, which
I'm telling you, they know I'm watching now. They know I'm into it. So
the ratings will come. I know people are like, oh, well, I don't know if people watch whatever. It takes a long ass time to get people back watching your show after they stopped in wrestling. It's always a year.
And on a continuous basis, tuning in every week.
Yeah. If they keep doing what they've been doing this last couple of months, and especially the last few weeks, the ratings are going up every week, but it's incremental. And if you look at them compared to in the past, they like, oh yeah, that looks bad. But if you look at them actually week over week, they're going up every week.
Yeah.
So that'll get there. I'm glad that they're doing it the way that I wanted them to, which is basically continue making the program that I want them to make, instead of trying to make big changes to be more another kind of show, you know?
Yeah.
This was just, be the best of our kind of show, and that's what they've been doing.
Yeah.
Even the fucking Chris Jericho thing, I was kind of amused by this week.
It at least had a level of entertainment in it. Maybe to me, maybe not in the intentional way that they were hoping, but I still...
It wasn't him talking.
Yeah, that's true.
But after the promo segments, we got... one of the things that AEW does best, which is I prefer when they usually do it, they'll do it to open the show, like a cold open with somebody's theme song playing in a match.
Yeah.
And they'll do like their either best match or second best match will open the show all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you should produce a wrestling show always. Because I think it gets the live crowd into it. They get fired up from the beginning, and the way they open the show is fucking Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Page in the Owen Cup final.
2 weeks in a row. I could have watched the first match, turned my TV off, and been like, that was a great Dynamite. So satisfying.
Yeah, as well. You and every other pro wrestling fan on earth.
They were both.
They put on a 25-minute clinic again.
Yeah, main event level awesome match.
I think this is their fifth match now, and every single one of them has been like between 4.75 and 5 stars. Their first match was in contention with, I would argue, the Kenny Omega Bryan Danielson match for the best just regular TV match that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Like in America, in the history of America. Like the best Raw match of all time generally considered was like a tag match from the Attitude Era. Jericho was actually a part of it. And that was like a really good match and was not even fucking close to either of, or any of the 3 Danielson matches that I just mentioned. This went for 25 minutes.
He's the most perfect special wrestler that's ever existed.
He is. I'm proud of you that you recognized what Bryan Danielson was as quickly as you did. Because you know nothing about this dude. Then you just saw him and were like, oh, he's amazing. And we all knew that.
It was magnetic. I was like, this is the guy. This is the one.
Because he is. And I think he's going to win the goddamn belt at Wembley. And people were kind of pissed off about, it should have been Hangman. The story's Hangman. I'm like, that was the obvious story choice. But we got a long time to Wembley yet, too. And so now this, that Hangman shit is all built in. They could do that for a year. They could do that for 2 years if they want. Hangman Page has already done a 2-year-long story arc in AEW, and it fucking ruled with Kenny Omega. It was probably the best story they ever told, and went for 2 years. So you didn't have to do the Hangman thing yet. So Bryan Danielson won this match, which I had a feeling they were going to do this because he's given up what he calls full-time wrestling. He's not. Every time he says it, and then somebody follows up off air with an interview question, he's like, "Well, I'm not quitting wrestling." So what he means is he's just going to wrestle on Dynamite.
He's going to take it a little easier on himself.
He's not going to wrestle multi-man on Collision every goddamn week anymore. That's the kind of retirement he's doing. But because he has said the retirement word, they get to tell the story of Wembley being his last shot at the big one. And we'll talk about the match itself. Don't worry. But what I think they're going to probably do is have him win at Wembley, get his big moment in front of the big crowd,
and then I can retire from watching wrestling, and I will be happy.
And then there's another pay-per-view 2 weeks later, which they need to fix that. It's still a problem. Last year, the first All In, they slotted it in to the schedule where it would fit, basically. Yeah. And it ended up being, it was 1 week apart from another pay-per-view. So it was super weird. They spread it to 2 weeks, which is still not even, it needs to be a month. They need to do a month. So hopefully next year they will understand that and then move them each on the schedule 1 week in the other direction. So you get a month. But in this sense, I think it works because I think Danielson's going to win his belt And I think his condition probably in real life was, I'm losing it at All Out, though, because I think he's going to lose to Hangman Page at All Out.
Yeah.
Because I think then Hangman, whose whole story thing this whole time is, I don't care about personally beating Swerve Strickland. I just want to make sure he does not have success.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense story-wise, too.
So then he can have the belt without ever having pinned the champ. It took the greatest of all time to pin Swerve, so he doesn't lose any heat from losing a match. Nobody loses any heat from losing a match to Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
So that's a way to get the belt off Swerve.
It gets it off him, and then it builds up like when we finally fight, is it going to be Rocky and Apollo? Like, am I going to...
And it's the good guy, the guy that you're cheering for, chasing the bad guy, which is generally always the way to go.
Yeah.
And outside of a very few circumstances, I know I've talked about this before on the show, but not with you, generally outside of it, like very individual, stone cold, like should have been the champ when he was the champ, like Hulk Hogan, it was the right call because he was so popular. But like mostly in wrestling, you should have a heel world champ almost the entire year. Like on average, I would say, like if you took a 5-year average, any given year, a heel should be your world champ for 10 months. And 2 months, you should have a babyface. The babyface has got to win the title because that's the chase and then the cathartic moment of victory.
Be like, finally, Harry Potter defeated Voldemort 7 movies in.
But it's not that. Like outside of some situations, generally, it's not that fun to watch like the good guy keep just being on top.
Yeah.
Swerve's a little different because he's got still kind of a like edge to him. He's got a vibe, so he works as like the champ. Like he's doing basically what Deion Sanders did like back in the day. Like I'm on top and I'm showing you that I'm on top, and you kind of love it because like it's badass because you're Swerve. Like you got a thing going. But generally, it's just more fun to watch the good guy try to overcome the bad guy, and that like Hangman, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And this is I think it's an incredible and fortuitous, that means lucky, way to make that happen. That they had this weird situation where you have the giant pay-per-view where Danielson can finally get like acknowledged for what he is.
Make everyone happy.
And make everyone happy. And then immediately also lose it, which would make him happy. To the guy that like everybody wants to see the current champ have his feud with. So then you could feud Hangman and Swerve for a year after that. You can let Hangman carry that belt and let Swerve try to get it off him for however long you want, and it'll be awesome.
Literally make everyone happy.
I know I've like fantasy booked this in my head now, but I'm like I'm going to be disappointed if that's not how it plays out. I usually am not like that. I like to predict stuff, fantasy book, because I'm a wrestling fan, and that's what we all do. But generally, I'm like, what I want to happen is them to come up with something better. And then AEW, like, outside of 2023 and a little bit of 2022, usually that's what they would do. Yeah. They were like, oh, shit, I didn't even think of that. That's awesome. That's better. Most MJF programs, because he's a genius, he will come up with something I didn't see coming. And then I'm like, oh, shit, that's great. This, I'm like, I don't know that you can do a better. A thing that in my mind would be better than. I think that's perfect. I think it would be for me, for my entertainment dollar. But this match went 25 minutes. We had some interesting circumstances because Jeff Jarrett was the special guest enforcer. So you loved it. You get to see multiple generations of Mark Twain. Did you understand what was happening with the tunnels?
No.
So, in AEW, and this was one of the things that Punk changed, that everybody was like, it was a suggestion of Punk's to change, and they did, and everybody hated it. So they went back to the thing. So for most of AEW's existence, they've had the 2 different tunnels.
Yeah.
Well, one is a heel tunnel, one is a babyface tunnel. And they've used that to story extents at sometimes, and that's what they did here. Jeff Jarrett was staring down the heel tunnel waiting for Hangman Page to come out, But Hangman came out of the babyface tunnel because he thinks he's the good guy.
Yeah.
He still considers himself, which logically he kind of is.
Which I love. I love like thinking about them showing up to the arena and they're like, "Oh, you're a good guy. You've got to go to this side. Oh, wait, you're a bad guy. You've got to stay. Your locker room's on that side." Like,
in my mind, I say, the fans are not behind you. You recognize that, right? So you have to come out of the.
But the really good ones, the fans are still behind. So.
Well, that's what happened. That was Swerve's basically his entire face turn was they're cheering for me so much I have to start coming out of this tunnel.
No, I didn't know that, so I didn't catch that.
But I like the little that subtle stuff they do like that. When I was talking about the Punk Drew stuff, if you guys have not listened, WWE Blue Thunder Pod drops the same time as this one. Go check it out. The Drew Punk stuff, like. The logic in it tells me that CM Punk is the bad guy, but they're trying to tell me a different thing without really telling me that. AEW, like, not only are they letting me decide for myself, they're also putting the logic in of this character in his own head would and should consider himself in the right.
Yeah.
And I don't accept that you're not cheering for me because you saw this man go into my house and threaten my child. Yeah. Like, what the fuck? I'm still the good guy. I don't care. And you see it in his face. He's becoming more and more unhinged as the weeks go by. I love his facials. And I didn't know what it was going to look like for him as a heel. But it's incredible. It's incredible. And it's completely different than anything I've ever seen him do before. And he's pulling off, it's real hard to pull off crazy without coming off goofy or over the top.
Over the top stuff. Yeah.
He feels to me, I may be different for you, but to me, he feels like legitimately like I'm losing my grip on things.
Yeah. Like he's like, I'm not the crazy one. You're all the crazy ones.
Yeah. And like match wise, it was
stellar.
It was a Danielson Hangman match, man. It was just, what else? They can't have anything but an amazing goddamn match.
And I LOL'd in real life when Jeff Jarrett revealed the referee shirt. I love
the tiny little ref shirt under the
ref. Yeah,
there was a ref bump. So Paul Turner got knocked out. Jeff Jarrett came out as the enforcer.
It was like the perfect dose of silliness.
And it was also
into an awesome match.
A measure of revenge he got to have against the guy that like beat him and kind of humiliated him in his buddy's tournament.
Yes, but still didn't do the...
Wasn't cheating. No, it didn't help, but got to count 3 in front of your face.
So that was appreciated too. There was no hijinks. It was a straight up win.
Give the win to the guy. And give the win to the guy that I would like, that Owen would have rather had. Like, in truth, Owen was a heel most of his career. So we probably would have been pulling for a Hangman. But in story, I loved it. Loved it. So something I mentioned to you before we started recording that I hadn't even thought of until this match, the Nigel McGuinness stuff. You were like, oh, why is this Nigel really has it out
not
for
knowing
Danielson.
Anything, I was fully convinced that there was going to be a run-in because he was going to jump into the ring or something.
So Nigel McGuinness was in Ring of Honor at the same time as Bryan Danielson. Nigel McGuinness was the number 2 best guy in Ring of Honor when Bryan Danielson was the number 1 best guy in Ring of Honor. They had a series of matches that were goddamn unbelievable. It was like Ring of Honor. They did one in Chicago, 5-star match in Chicago. And then they, on the heels of that and getting so popular that they were able to actually travel. Ring of Honor traveled to London. This is an independent wrestling promotion, was popular enough. They were able to go do a big time show in London because they had Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson. And Danielson won again in front of the British crowd. McGuinness got hurt. In the time that McGuinness was out, Danielson signed with WWE. So he never got his revenge. McGuinness then was supposed to have a tryout with WWE, and I forget what the full story was, but for some reason he was unable to attend. It was out of his control though.
Yeah.
And because of that, they said, okay, well, we're not interested. He would have made the roster. He was incredible.
Yeah.
He would have made the roster but he missed his shot at the tryout, and then he went back to the Indies, and he suffered like a career-ending injury.
Oh, wow.
Then. So he never got his opportunity to wrestle in front of the big, crowds.
Yeah.
He later went on to like be the one of the announcers for NXT, and he was great there too. But then when things came all the way back around, Bryan Danielson, that now toward the end of his career, signs with AEW, and then like a year later they start Collision, and they need an announcer, so they bring in Nigel McGuinness. And as soon as he plops his ass down, he's like, "That fucking clam digger son of a bitch! I hate him! I hate him! He ruined my life." So people are like hoping that, because Nigel has talked about on social media and stuff, that he thinks he can, like, he's gotten physically into the shape where he could potentially do one more match.
Yeah.
I don't want to get my hopes up because it was a career-ending injury.
Yeah.
But Bryan Danielson also suffered a career-ending injury at one point, was out for 2 years or something, and he came back. Edge was supposed to be retired and with a career-ending injury. He came back. So there's a chance, and I think they are eventually building towards that, so that's why they're continuing to do that. And
if there's a guy who clearly like can meet you where you are in the ring, it's him, and he can wrestle. Yeah. He can make it look good while also like not killing him.
And if McGuinness is never able to actually, like, it's too dangerous for him or whatever, then you just have Bobby. It's a Bobby Heenan Hulk Hogan situation where a guy hates the other guy, and it's awesome. So yeah, I love that Nigel was able to be there. I actually wonder if they continued the story was that Taz was still banned from announcing this Dynamite because of Chris Jericho. So stupid. I don't know. It was dumb. So but if the reason was because they wanted to have Nigel Harper. Oh, because the other thing was the end of the show. So Nigel McGuinness, one of his other character things he does as an announcer is he is absolutely like stone cold in love with Tony Storm and Mariah May.
Okay.
And is not constantly like fawning over them, and also talking about how they to each other are like the purest representation of human love and affection towards, familial love towards one another. So that, like, his two big things were the bookends of the show. So
we only needed a stupid Chris Jericho storyline to get us there.
Yeah. So I could put up with Jericho if it gets me Nigel McGuinness for the opening match and for the thing that happened at the end of the show. But yeah, so Nigel was apoplectic about Danielson winning and getting his shot in England.
Yeah.
His big moment in the UK, Nigel's home country. It was perfect. It was perfect that Nigel was on commentary for this. And I love that it's Danielson. I love it for a zillion different reasons.
I might show up to your house to watch All In with my hair now shaved in little braids in a nice homage to Bryan Danielson.
He does change it up, though, so you don't want to do it.
You know me, I'll change my hair up, too.
Yeah. You have to change it like here. We'd have to cut it.
True. I would do it. I would do it for you.
It was just like, come on. You're going to open your show with...
I know. It was great.
First, Will Bloody Ospreay and MJF in a promo battle, and then a goddamn Danielson Hangman match. Perfect. Loved it. The next thing was I have a saying that I've used many times on this program. In one direction, I'm going to say it in the other way now. We got our dessert first. Now we got to eat our vegetables. we got our Learning Tree Chris Jericho segment that was my favorite Chris Jericho segment in several weeks because he didn't talk and Samoa Joe was involved. But then when I found out after the show, made me sad and made me dislike the segment a little bit more.
Oh no! What was it?
Not sad. Not that sad. It's not a real bad thing. It's just
not
like
Roman Reigns
something
getting booed for 10 years.
No,
sad? Okay.
no. This was just like, somebody I like's not going to be around for a little while.
I think I know. Samoa Joe's got a day job.
Samoa Joe plays Sweet Tooth on a show. What what's it called? It's that PlayStation game show that I was talking about. Anyway, it did very well, so they renewed it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm
so he's got to go record for 6 weeks or something.
I'm pretty invested in all of these people now. I do a lot of
Twisted Metal.
I do a lot of researching them, so I did know that he was going to be.
Yeah, so he's going to record. Do his Twisted Metal. For 6 or 8 weeks or something.
Yeah.
So the way that they wrote him off was to have Chris Jericho put him on a forklift and smash him
drive him through a randomly placed piece of drywall.
It just was in the middle of a backstage area.
It wasn't a wall. It was just a slab of drywall.
It was a slab of drywall.
Over.
Like somebody very quickly, some like grip or like very quickly like stuck to the floor.
It was basically like the two guys walking the sheet of plate glass at the wrong time and someone goes through it.
So it was a non-title Stampede street fight between Jericho and
which I knew
Samoa
because
Joe.
They were both wearing jeans.
That's because they're old guys too. Like the younger set does not always do the streetwear stuff for like street match stuff these days. Sometimes it'll be like one guy will be in ring gear, but like the older guys are like, no. If we're having a street fight, we're wearing blue jeans. goddammit.
You dress for the event.
Yeah. So yeah, they're dressed in their blue jeans.
It did feel very like I was watching a Naked Gun movie or something. With what they were doing. It was like I appreciated there was a point where Jericho Samoa Joe was out of the ring and Jericho went to go jump on him and he just walked away.
Yeah.
I liked that. But like that's coffee and
that is a Joe. That is a Samoa Joe his spot he does in every match. It's the nope spot.
Oh, that's great.
It's awesome because one of the things that makes him so cool is like, why didn't anybody else ever do this? Right. Every time somebody tries to do a top rope move against him, he walks away. And then
everyone else just stands and waits for it.
Yeah. Or they wait and then roll out of the way. He just like nopes and walks away.
That was great.
So that was his nope
spot.
The
cup of coffee. I was like, this is like so Naked Gun.
I knew that this match was going to over-deliver because, one, Jericho's been delivering us garbage for weeks now. But, two, like Chris Jericho's last 3 decent to pretty good matches were these, like Plunder. He had a match like 8 months ago against Roderick Strong, who Roderick Strong is an incredible wrestler, but it was one of these, like a backstage nonsense thing.
Yeah.
It was great. It was super fun because that's what Jericho can do these days. Is like he's way slowed down in the ring.
Yeah.
But you take it out of the ring, put him in there with somebody interesting like Roderick Strong or Samoa Joe, and let them do this shit, and it's fun. Yeah. And it can be fun. And this was fun, and it was 12 minutes. Wasn't like super long for a hardcore match or whatever. And besides the not very well thought out finish, it still looked cool when he smashed him through the. Like it looked good outside of if you think for 1 second, why is there a wall there?
That's not a wall.
That's not a wall. Why is there a wall that's not attached to anything in the middle of the room?
Seemingly in front of another opening with stuff in it, too.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And I did note that I watched this as opposed to some weeks. I watched the regular American broadcast of this. I was not watching it on Fight, so I didn't. The picture-in-picture went to picture-in-picture, so I didn't watch the picture-in-picture stuff.
Yeah.
Nor, like a lot of weeks, I will be watching while they're doing the picture-in-picture because I'll watch the fight stream. Evidently, I found out this after too. Like they always slow it down when they go to picture-in-picture.
Yeah.
They don't do every once in a while they'll do some crazy thing, spot or something. But usually they'll slow it down to some degree. Yeah, like you don't want to like waste a dangerous spot on a thing that nobody's watching. Yeah. But what I guess they did in this match was Jericho put the walls of Jericho, which is a crappy move already, on Samoa Joe and held it for 3 full minutes. That was the entire commercial break. It was Jericho got Samoa Joe in the walls of Jericho. Like, I don't know if people listening, 3 minutes may not sound like a long time. 3 minutes to hold somebody in a wrestling move is a goddamn eternity. It's insane. There are matches that are 3 minutes long that don't even feel like squashes. Like this is there's a whole division called the Speed Division in WWE that the matches are all 3 minutes. It's the point of the division. This was Jericho holding Samoa Joe in a single bad move for 3 minutes. So I'm glad I didn't see that.
I wonder if they were like having a conversation while that was happening.
I can't believe Joe let that happen, even because he's like usually so. I know it's a commercial break, so he's probably like, all right, fine, we'll do.
Like talking, like catching up, talking about like the latest episode of television that they both watched.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're gonna. Unfortunately, the best thing about this fucking tree of woe, the learning tree, Jericho bullshit, for me has been the creation of the Samoa Joe Hook Shibata stable, which or trio, which I've loved, and now that's going away for however long Joe is filming for. So that's a bummer. But this was a fun way to write him off TV, and it's. Like, even for the viewer at home, I think you need a kind of a breather after something like the match that they open the show with.
Yeah.
When you have a 25-minute fucking banger, like certified banger, you feel like, that was something.
Well, I texted you because it was so silly that I half expected Chris Jericho to be driving the ambulance when they put Samoa Joe in it.
Like, stick his head out the window.
yeah, exactly. Like, that's what that match felt like. So you're right, though. It was kind of like, I won't say like a palate cleanser because that you don't need a palate cleanser.
Yeah, you need a breather.
But you needed something.
You need a breather. Like something that you're not so emotionally invested in, especially when you consider how the show was going to end.
Right.
So if you're going to do two big emotional things, bookend them on, put them far apart from each other on the show. So you're not like emotionally exhausted and not unable to like fully comprehend what you're seeing when they do what they did at the end of the show. So this was like fun for that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this means that we're going to get fucking like another learning tree 18-minute talking segment next week right after Will Ospreay and MJF open the show. So we're going to get another 5-star opener and Jericho again, but it won't be a hardcore match against Samoa Joe this time. So it will absolutely be worse next week. Which that's you know what they should have done? They should have thrown Samoa Joe in the back of a ice cream truck, because that's his character, Sweet Tooth. He drives around an ice cream truck. He's an evil clown that drives an ice cream truck, like evil ice cream truck. So throw him in the back of an ice cream truck. And then Jericho could put on a stupid painmaker. That was his character in Japan that everybody fucking cringes about when he put a face paint on, and I'm the painmaker now. And everybody's like, no, you're not. Stop that. We've been watching you for 30 years. You're not the painmaker. Yeah, do that, and like you drive off.
Drive away, and then you do that thing where you just don't even talk about where.
And then Jericho's gone for a year.
They just are like, gone. Like
Jericho and Joe can both be
Joe
gone.
can do his thing, and nobody mentions it again until like a few months later when he's back, and you're like, oh wait, yeah, he was gone. What
and then we
happened
can all forget that Chris Jericho's there, and then he can come back in 2026 or something. So that would have been the perfect. Like my headcanon booked way of what's going on with Hangman and Danielson and the world title. Now that I wish that like that would have happened with this, because then Jericho could be gone for 2 years.
Now that I'm watching again, my headcanon is that Jericho is still 20 years ago, back when I thought he was awesome, and none of this last couple of weeks has existed.
Your headcanon and Chris Jericho's headcanon, coincidentally, are right in the same place. So what do we get next? The four-way. The awesome four-way match with your boy Pac.
My note, I like Pac. Exclamation point. I like him.
You got to hear his weird ass Geordie accent too.
I did.
Because he talked after this match. Pac, his goofy ass Geordie accent, where every fifth word I'm like, is that English?
Right.
I think you said a word that wasn't English.
I don't know what he said, honestly.
It was Pac. He won the four-way against Claudio Castagnoli, Coyle Fletcher, because he is from Australia. So I always call him Coyle Fletcher. He's awesome. Kyle Fletcher's like, if Will Ospreay was 5 years younger and 6'3" or 6'4". Actually, Don Callis always says 6'5". He may be 6'5", but I think he's 6'4", which is insane for a guy that wrestles like that.
Yeah.
Jesus. Our show mascot, Rocky, just farted on me, and it's awful. I hope you people appreciate what I do for you. And then the last guy was Tomohiro Ishii, who is actually a very veteran some would say old, NJPW guy who I found out again after the show that he's actually, he has done like one-offs for AEW because they do like a talent exchange thing where the guys will come over for, but he's actually doing a run, like a full run in AEW. He's going to be here for the rest of the summer.
Oh, okay.
So which is good because when it's just a one-off, they're never going to win any matches.
Yeah.
But and Ishii is great. And if he's going to be here for like a good while now, that means he can win some matches. So there'll be some, when he's in matches, I won't be like, oh, I know who's going to win or at least who's definitely going to lose. So that'll be nice to see for a change. He also, I forget who it was, but it looked like he almost murdered somebody with a brain buster he did in this match. Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, he's the Stone Pitbull in New Japan. And I think it's a really great nickname for him because he looks like a Pitbull. But Pac got the win in this 4-way, and they're doing something with him. They're starting some kind of program with him because
I like him.
Yeah, because he's back. He rolls. He's just incredible. He got to talk though. For a change. He very rarely does because nobody can understand what the hell he's talking. Even other British people are like, what the fuck are you talking about?
He should lean into that. He should just talk and everyone should be like, what did he say?
I listened to another podcast that is British based called What Culture? I'm not advertising for somebody else. They're a huge popular podcast.
Yeah.
But they are often I don't know what the hell this sheep herder guy's talking about.
Go with it. Go with nobody have him come talk to somebody and then he walks away and they're like, what, did you understand what he said? I didn't.
Yeah. This was the international title number 1 contender. That is what.
That's right. So,
I think I think Ospreay's going to lose the international title. I think the MJF feud is not going to end up being for that belt because I don't think MJF would want in character or probably even in real life would want the secondary belts. Yeah. Even if it was because he was like, no, it's the Triple B baby or nothing else. The big Burberry belt is why it was the Triple B because he changed the title, the world title, to have the Burberry.
Yeah.
It would be that character wouldn't make sense for him to want that. So I think that's the way they're going to do it. I think Pac's going to win that title. Yeah. Which is all right. That means Pac will Ospreay.
Cool. I'll watch that.
Yeah, that might be a okay way to pass an afternoon. The next thing was the main event of the evening. The Owen Hart Foundation 2024 Women's Tournament Final. Mariah May, accompanied by Luther and Tony Storm. Poor Luther. He did nothing wrong. Against Willow Nightingale in a very good match. Willow was wearing, did you notice her attire?
I think I did, but I didn't.
It was something that you could have noticed. It would make sense for you to be, I see, I know what that is. She was wearing Owen Hart's gear, his gear for most of his time in WWE. They just had a banger of a match. They're both really good, hard-hitting wrestlers. And it's Willow. I love Willow. But the story of this match is not the match.
That was the appetizer before the entree.
Really good match. Mariah won clean. She did. I should mention the one spot. She did that. She does this headbutt rules, and it was a very specifically awesome one, a very pronounced, specifically awesome one that she did in this match.
I think I noticed it because I think I thought that looks damaged.
That's why I'm mentioning it because it was one of those oh fuck. It was just a really well timed, and she made the crack noise at the right time. So she wins, and they shake hands.
They all live happily ever after.
Willow and Mariah shake hands because they're both baby faces, and we're all here to just celebrate competition together. And
she's so proud of her
the winner
protege.
And her and Tony Storm is going nuts. She's so excited for her protege for hugs. They're hugging each other Mariah jumps into Tony's arms basically, and they're embracing the ring, and then they head up the ramp, and as soon as Mariah May gets her hands on the Owen Hart belts, the prize basically for winning the tournament, along with the title shot. The second she gets her hands on the belt, she fucking turns around and wallops Tony Storm in the head with it as hard as she possibly can. Like, there was no delay. There was no is she or will she, won't she? It was like, I got what I was trying to get this whole goddamn time. And the first ever opportunity, the first millisecond of an opportunity I have to take this woman out, I'm going to. And she proceeds to bash Tony Storm in the head with the belt multiple times. Hits Luther in the head with the belt 2 or 3 times, and then again to knock him off of the stage through a table because he's trying to help Tony, who's now downed and bleeding. Turns to bleeding profusely as Mariah May whips Tony with this big ass heavy. It's a championship wrestling belt, and I've never seen somebody use it like this. She's whipping Tony. She's down to Tony Storm on the ground. At which point Mariah May grabs, so they're up on the stage, and Mariah May grabs Tony Storm by the hair, and she's on her knees, and Mariah is like standing above her,
like crying,
and Tony is wailing. Like Tony Storm's performance here, cannot go unnoted. I think it was the most important part of this entire segment. It was like a lot of people online, discourse, whatever, are talking about this, like, oh, it's one of the greatest heel turns I've ever seen. She was so brutal. Mariah's so brutal, because she was very brutal. But what made it feel more brutal than any of the stuff Mariah was doing, which was all great, was Tony Storm. Was like, I am so hurt, but I'm so heartbroken now, because she's been just steadily. She was, because her character, Tony Storm's character, was like kind of crazy, but also very aloof and not attached to anyone.
Yeah.
And over the last several weeks, she has been, week over week, and I've been talking about it on the show, week over week, becoming and feeling more motherly towards Mariah May. And it's the first person that she's like treated like a human, and then to the point where she is like calling her basically her daughter, embracing her all the time, doing everything she can for her, including getting her into this tournament, which obviously was Mariah May's plan from day one.
Yeah.
So now a crying Tony Storm is on her knees, bleeding like a stuck pig, like blood all over the place. Mariah May, in Tony Storm's thing, watch for the shoe, Mariah May takes Tony Storm's high heel shoe and starts driving it into the wound on Tony's head and bashing her in the head with the heel into the face. Heel into the face of the,
how's that for
of the
symbolism?
baby face. Yeah, so this was a incredible way to close the show out. Everybody was like, we know it's gonna happen. They're gonna have to turn on each other because they're gonna have the match probably, whatever. Like, but it'll play out in something. And nobody saw this shit coming.
Yeah.
Like, nobody saw it like immediately, and it makes more sense than any other thing would. Because Mariah May's been planning this shit out from day one. It's been bullshit. She's been gaslighting her from the day she got into the company. And she came into the company, the first thing she said on air when they showed Mariah May's face was, I'm here because of Tony Storm, because she came from Stardom where I came from, and I just adore her and I want to be her understudy. And this has all been the plan from day one.
It was all a ruse.
Incredible long-term storytelling.
How long ago did they pair up?
Mariah May has been in the company for 6 months or something.
Oh, wow. So this is definitely a slow burn.
Day one. It was the first thing she said on air. Like, first time I saw her face was, Tony Storm is my hero, and I need to be her understudy.
Oh, wow.
I love it so much. And Tony, I love Mariah May as a performer, but I so fucking badly as a viewer of art need to see Tony Storm fucking beat the shit out of this woman now, because Tony Storm rolls, and she was like she did such a wonderful job of selling this like heartbreak, this assassination that got done to her. And now, like, after the aftermath, people are posting little nuggets that they have like on Dynamites and Collisions.
Like, in hindsight, these are Easter eggs.
These are Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite, very favorite thing AEW does is when they do this. And it's real hard to do. Tell a story for several months. And when the thing happens, the main thing happens, you can go back and find all the shit that you didn't know.
It was subtle enough that it didn't telegraph everything that was going to come.
Like when a movie has a twist at the end, and then you can go back and watch the movie again with the context, and it's a different movie. When AEW is doing the best things that they can do, that's what they're doing, and that's what this is.
Gotcha.
And it's incredible. I know that like the match was the best thing on the show for you. I think this was the best thing on the show for me, just because I've seen Bryan Danielson and Hangman Page have 5-star matches before. I've never seen something like this out of a women's division in American wrestling. What did you think of it?
I thought it was great. I thought it was a great show from top to bottom, pretty much. Like I said, even the Jericho thing was like silly enough. I was like, okay, it's kind of funny. Like, but no, I thought this match was a great way to end it. You had kind of filled me in on sort of the direction that this was heading, and everybody knew something was going to happen, but not really how or what. Just that they were going to end up at odds with each other. It was a very bloody Dynamite.
Yes, it was. They like to bleed on AEW programming, and I like watching wrestlers bleed. It adds to me. It adds a lot to a match. Well, I don't like death matches necessarily, but I love blood.
I said earlier, like I could have turned off Dynamite after the Danielson match and been like, I'm totally satisfied. But I'm glad I didn't turn it off.
Yes.
Because it kept getting,
you know what? That's
up.
Good way to, in the future, get your viewers to watch all the way through too. You bookend your show with as good a match as you can possibly have, and then as good an angle as you could possibly do.
You should, because I watched Raw because I'm coming on to this podcast and talking about it, but Raw started out boring for me, and I maybe would have just turned it off.
Yeah, it wasn't like I'm not recording a podcast.
I would not have turned off Dynamite because it started so great, and then I'm like, well, is this going to like totally fizzle out, or like what's going to happen? Yeah. So I stayed with it. I think they should always start a show with a really good match and end it with a really good match and do all the silly, goofy stuff in between.
And as long as both shows are trying as hard as they are, because both shows are trying as hard as they can right now, they're both just going to get better because competition breeds better programming.
Yeah.
It just does. This week ruled in wrestling. And I think it's just going to get better from here because we got a nice chunk of time between now and the big show in Wembley, and we have our you know what? There's one other big thing happened on the show that I didn't even mention because the huge stuff from the Hangman agreed to because he lost. Hangman agreed to join the elite groups for Blood and Guts, and Swerve announced that he's and because Swerve announced that he's going to be on Team AEW. After Hangman lost, he just went back to the Bucks and was like,
came out and he did the old switcheroo, like you were wondering
you're trying to recruit me, but I'm fucking gonna be at the good guys' side.
I will say that, like, I know you've said that wrestling fans can be very tribalistic, and you like one company versus the other, and you stick with that. I am just enjoying both so much because I have there's like no built-in loyalty. Like I used to watch Raw years and years ago, but like it's changed so much, and I hated Vince McMahon, and so like it's coming in fresh on both.
Yeah, I really truly do enjoy both shows too. People don't believe it because they know how big of an AEW fan I am, and wrestling fans think, well, if you're that big of an AEW, you must hate WWE. I know I don't.
No,
I hate Vince McMahon.
They both have. They do what they do well, both of them, and it's fun to watch, and it's cool to watch it with my kids who've never watched and kind of see what their.
It's a great time to be a pro wrestling fan.
Their thoughts are on things and what they like better and who they like with the different companies and stuff. So it is a fun thing to do right now. So I like both. I do.
I'm right there with you, Stallion. You can get us on our socials. TikTok, Blue Thunder Pod. Twitter, Blue Thunder Pod. YouTube, The Blue Thunder Pod. All of the above. BlueThunderPod.com. Thanks for joining us, guys. Hope to see you again next week. Bye-bye.